Well, hi, everybody, and welcome to Diversity Wines webinars. Today, I'm Jerry. First of all, I'm Jerry Yoshida, and I am the head of B2B for Diversity Wines. And I have a special guest with me today. So, today we're talking about selling to today's and tomorrow's wine consumer. And I have Moshe Weitzman from Wining. So, welcome, Moshe. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Pleasure being here. Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. Before we get started, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and introduce yourself to our fine folks who are on the webinar with us today.
Okay. Well, first of all, I always like mentioning the fact that I'm an only child, born to two restaurant owners. My mother's French. She was the chef. My father was the maitre d'. So I grew up around, gastronomy, French cuisine, and lots of wine. But you know, besides that, in my childhood, I've spent about 18 years of my life in the financial software business. And about 5 years ago, after completing both WSET's levels 2 and 3 studies and getting my sommelier certification from the Court of Master Sommelier, I took the turn and tried to link my professional experience to my greatest passion, which is wine. And today I'm also the CEO of Wining, which is a digital platform for collaborative selling for wineries.
Wonderful. And I think a lot of people on our call right now are going to be able to identify with that, trying to connect your passions, because as you know, we're all passionate about wine on this webinar. I'm going to go ahead and jump into this. So we're talking about selling to today's and tomorrow's consumer. You've spent years observing how consumer behavior is evolving in the wine world, right? So what are the main reasons you believe traditional wine club memberships are losing traction today?
Well, first of all, it's just the basic fact that it's an old model. It's something that's been around for a long time, mostly based on, baby boomers starting this trend. And it's basically what the whole industry, or especially the DTC part of it, was based on. With time, unfortunately, baby boomers are either less with us, either drink less, or either don't drink at all. And I would, if you'll allow me to say, our generation and even a younger generation is simply not buying wine the same way. Time passes, trends changed, mentalities changed, and I would say the younger audience is simply not looking for the same type of, I would say, palate commitment, quantity commitment, and financial commitment that comes with club membership. So it's not gone, don't get me wrong, but it's very gradually shifting, and it's shifting downwards.
Interesting. And if anybody on the webinar has any comments or questions, whether you've experienced that with your own wine clubs, or if you have any specifics as we get in, if Moshe talks about anything that you have questions on and would like his expertise, please feel free to drop your questions in the chat and we will make sure to get to them. So, speaking of younger wine drinkers, so they want freedom rather than commitment, from what you were saying. We had a conversation about this earlier. How does that mindset show up in the way that millennials and Gen Z interact with wine brands?
Well, again, the thing with these people is that they have certain ways of behaving in fields that are not necessarily wine, and that they can't really find within wine, meaning things that are simpler, gamified, virtually connecting, It's not really, these are not words that somehow resonate with wine. Wine automatically, instinctively scares people. And the younger audience is not, ready to embark quite fast in this endeavor to hear more and more details about wine. And that's why you see products like wine in a can to some extent, ready to drink other drinks in cans, things that are simply, I would say, more approachable, less threatening, and they just, go and go naturally towards what is closer to them in mindset, cheaper, but also doesn't cost as much in terms of time invested in buying something. I also think, and I mentioned it with regards to your first question, the whole concept of long-term commitment to someone, even let alone a wine, is simply something that doesn't resonate with the younger type of audience.
Interesting. And Krishan Lampley is saying that with the GLP-1 craze, that people aren't drinking as much either. So I'm sure that that has a big impact. I don't know if our other attendees have had that experience as well. So in the past, you've said that wine clubs have created a sense of belonging, but that seems to be fading now. Do you think the issue is about price or experience or the way that wineries communicate value?
I think it's a bit of all of the above. I also think that the issue is not necessarily, I mean, what I mentioned is related to wine, but it doesn't mean that I don't believe that wine could be sold. I simply think that the way that the wine is sold today is so, I would say, too traditional and not innovative enough. And people simply aren't attracted to it. We're talking about in a form of diversity. People also want to diversify what they drink, and we may come to that later. But the whole concept of a case, for example, even if it's, I mean, of course, if it's a case of the same wine, but even if it's a mixed case of the same winery, is maybe not interesting enough, not to mention the financial commitment. So people, I mean, the belonging part is simply, again, something that is gradually less and less interesting for this type of audience.
So when you say traditional, I just want to clarify that you're talking about case selling by the case. Is there anything else that you're saying that selling traditionally? Is there anything else you want you're talking about?
Well, there's so many things that are traditional about wine selling, and yes, thinking that you should sell or try to sell by the case is a traditional thought. I mean, it makes sense financially, but it doesn't make sense reality-wise because less and less people are buying cases. Another sense of tradition, and we've mentioned it, is the concept of a club, and another sense of tradition is kind of the concept that if you want to sell to someone, let alone get him registered on your club, you probably need to do it at the tasting room. Hence, if you have a tasting room, hence all of your marketing and sales efforts are concentrated on that, which I believe, especially post-COVID, is simply not the right area to focus the marketing and the sales efforts too. People
In the
are
tasting
less,
you mean?
yes,
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
You see less and less visits. I mean, there are ways, and we will probably get to it, but there are ways of getting to customers that are not the tasting room, and people should start thinking about it because it's a very traditional state of mind.
Okay. 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 So actually, and I hope I'm saying this right, Devon or Davon Hatchett says, my take on wine clubs is a little different in that I think many clubs evolved into becoming about exclusivity and not belonging. That's a good point. Genuine belonging, in my opinion, is created through community, and you don't necessarily need a wine club for that. So yes, yes.
I agree.
And the first one or the second one I said right. I said Devon. Is that right? Anyway, so yes. So yeah, he is echoing what you said, that there is not as much exclusivity. I mean, there's not much as much inclusivity as there could be. So anyway, I want to talk about the deal, not a case kind of scenario that you have talked about. So you've often talked about the I want a deal but not a case mindset. Can you explain what that means in real terms and why it matters so much for today's consumer?
Yes. There's a very, very documented statistic, yet not enough attended to statistic, that between 80 to 85% of people buying wine, TTC, are not case buyers. I mean, it's like so obvious. It's not even 50-50. I mean, the critical mass of people are not case buyers. Stop offering them special prices or try to convince them to buy cases. It will simply not work. Most people, I mean, the statistic of those 80 to 85% is somewhere between 1 to 5 bottles. And that's what I mean. I mean, the people, you know, they, especially around wine tourism, in Europe, of course, but also in the US, people are, you know, they want to try. There are more and more wine regions, more and more wineries. People want to try this and that. Don't push them into trying to buy a case of your wine. It will simply hurt you in the long term. It may sound tempting financially, but it's like the opposite of preaching to the choir.
Okay. So you think that actually it doesn't work, and it's going to push them away.
Yes.
Okay. Not
yes.
only will it not work, it might hurt you. Okay. I don't know if anybody on this call has been trying to sell and been pushing cases, but you know, if you are, let's talk to those folks who have been doing it this way and who may not have been, you know, who would like some other ways to do this. Let's talk about solutions. So let's talk about collaborative buying. What exactly is collaborative buying? Because I know that this is your area of expertise. And how does it bridge the gap between what wineries need and what consumers want? So we want everybody to be happy. Tell me a little bit about that.
Okay, so collaborative buying is a concept that we came up with and we developed a software for that tries to link that gap that we just talked about between the winery's intent or will to sell a case, but the market's inability or unwillingness to buy it. I mean, this is something that evolved around COVID. When there, you know, there was no. I'm personally from Israel, so I was because of my business, I was constantly traveling to France and Italy, and at some point, COVID came. I couldn't fly, and I couldn't bring the wines that I would usually buy if I wanted to buy them domestically. And I'm very European in my wine palate. I needed to pay a lot, and I didn't want to. So I was looking for ways to buy wines at the value for money prices. And the only way I found was that our local, our leading local retailer was doing a grand sale, meaning something that, an event in a big warehouse, because it needed to be big because of COVID, an event where sales were only done by a case or half a case. So I went over. And you know, everybody there with the masks and everything. And then obviously I'm a heavy wine drinker, but I'm not a case buyer. I started making my list of things that I wanted, and then I started making calls and texting people to join in on the half a case or the case with me. And then I, of course, needed to get them together, which was a mess. Pay, take the wine with me, have the people come over and pick them up, pay me back, etc., etc. The enlightening came when, as I was doing it and I looked around, I saw literally everybody doing exactly the same thing. And that's when we started to do all of that research and understood the real statistic that we are a community of non-case buyers. So what wining does is basically enabling wineries or retailers, but mostly wineries, to leverage gatherings of people, mostly physical, and I may give an example soon, but also digital gatherings, like sending out a newsletter. But instead of limiting from a transactional perspective, instead of limiting case offers to one person, our tool basically enables a lot of people to join in on one case or on many cases in parallel. That way, the winery is able to move the quantity that it wanted, and the people got the advantageous price, even if as individuals, they didn't buy a case, but they collaboratively combined their forces. Our platform gave them a better and a bigger buying power, and they got the great price. They had a great experience because the platform really looks like a game. It's very engaging, very fun, really looks like a stock exchange with progress bars, etc. And the whole digital / virtual / engaging / gamified look of it also resonated with a younger type of audience, which is used to doing just that, but in other fields of their lives, like gaming or social media. So it's somehow linking, you know, a lot of worlds all in together.
So this means that strangers, that's what you mean, strangers could go in on buying a case together.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the thing is, the thing is that, again, if, for example, you have a tasting room or you're doing an event, like participating in a festival, etc., especially urban tasting room, that's a very good example. You have the strangers come in, but all of them, again, financially represent one entity of buying, of purchase, because at the end of the event or during the event, they will each come separately to you and buy. With our tool, basically everybody, not necessarily knowing each other, and if it's digital, they won't even see each other, they can suddenly collaborate and reach the common goal together. And that common goal could be half a case, it could be a case. We've done future sales where we sold barrels. In Europe, we've had pre-sales of importers before they actually, I mean, they were able to sell a pallet of wine before even importing it, basing themselves on the power that was given to their audience by our tool.
Oh, that is a great enticement there. I know we're going to get into a little bit more. If anybody has any questions. Oh, wait, Amira hey, Amira, how are you? Amira Garba has a question. Can you describe the benefit for using the tool at a festival for those of us who are without tasting rooms?
Yes. So, I mean, think of the following scenario. You're at a festival, and if I may, just a disclaimer, a festival with thousands of people may not be a good fit, but a festival with tens of people, maybe lower hundreds of people, may be a fit, because the dynamics within a festival are such that, or within the tasting rooms are such, where you need some kind of intimacy between the people present. If it's thousands of people, you won't get the communication going between them. So think of yourself standing at a booth or at a separated area and, you know, pouring wine. You have people coming over and then they're asking for the price. You probably have a price list with a price per bottle, a price per case, maybe a price per half a case, etc. Remember the statistic, 85% of people coming are not there for the case. However, what you're offering them is transactionally limited to them buying a case on their own. And since they probably don't want a case, that doesn't make sense. What we offer is, if I take the festival example, the ability to put in front of the tasters for a limited amount of time. It could be 30 minutes, it could be an hour, it could be 2 hours, it could be a day, putting in front of them a QR code where people can scan and reach the platform that we've created for you, the ready-to-use e-commerce platform that we've created for you, with all of your quantity offers. For example, 2 cases for 10%. People would collaborate in order to reach 24 bottles to reach the 10%. And when it's a physical event, it's really something to see, because the dynamic between the people is amazing. People automatically start talking to each other and saying like, "Oh, Jerry, we want that cab. We're missing 2 bottles there. Do you mind joining in? And we'll join in on your offer." We have very cool sharing buttons, so you can click and share with people who are not even physically with you, and it just automatically creates a collaborative, state of mind that drives more sales in those circumstances. It's a lot about psychology.
That sounds like it could be a very fun conversation as well within that festival, or within, Amira, you don't have a tasting room, but like as Moshe was saying, at an event, or for those of you who do have tasting rooms, to have those conversations going on among the different people. And just with the QR code, and there's so many ways that you can market this. I mean, as a marketer myself, you could do the table tents that say, that have, your specials on them. You could just you can talk about it, but have your standard QR code. If you want to reuse, if you're on a limited marketing budget, you can have a QR code that you can always use, but then talk about the different offers that you have. Or you can maybe just have a stand-up, like in one of those 8x10 like stand-up acrylic holders, you can have something like, "Ask us about how to go in on a case with other people," or some sort of verbiage that initiates a conversation with you, with the winemaker, with the brand, to say, "Hey, we're the more the merrier." You can make up your own slogans. The more the merrier. Ask us how to join in on a collaborative purchase. Want a case, want a few bottles at a case price, that sort of thing. There's a lot of ways that you can get people really excited about getting a discount, and then also get them talking amongst themselves. I think this is you've got a great point, that it's not just the sale, but it's also the experience for the consumer being in that environment, not just being able to get a great deal, but also being able to go in and purchase something together with somebody that you didn't know and that you're having a conversation with. "Oh, I really love this too. It is delicious. It is wonderful." And, that sort of thing. So I think that's a really, really great idea. Thank you, Amira, for that question.
Great questions.
Yeah. So let's see. So beyond discounts, some people might assume that collaborative buying is just another discount model. So we talked a little bit more about creating engagement. So is there anything else you'd like to explain about how it's creating any more engagement in community rather than just low prices? I know that we covered quite a bit just now.
Yes. So first of all, I can't escape it. When you're talking about something like collaborative selling, or how I used to refer to it as group selling, I mean, discount automatically comes up. I mean, there's quantity of people, there's a purchase, obviously discounts will be there, but discounts do not need to be the incentive to initiate the collaboration. However, you do need an incentive. With wine, because there are so many things that are typical, especially to wine, there are other options as well. I mentioned the future option. Think of a great vintage of yours, just for the sake of the example, that got a medal or a high score, and you're sold out. This is a great way to try and sold your next vintage even before it's out. So, and the incentive doesn't need to be a discount. It could be a limited edition. It could be one barrel. It could be library wines, for example, older vintage wine. It could be a minimum quantity that you're offering only to a certain amount of members, or something that you're offering to sell only at one specific event. And again, the discount helps. I won't say otherwise, because it does, but I'm not in the business of lowering the value of wine. If I may say, we chose this model of being a tool in the hands of the wineries, and not just being another Groupon of, one platform where everybody's there and the sense of discount is all over. I don't want to jeopardize or harm the wineries' brands and make them go lower. I want to take what they're already offering now, but just tell them, if you would offer it in a collaborative way, you would just sell more. That's the point I'm trying to make. I'm not trying to say, oh, lower your prices, it'll be better. Absolutely not.
Good point to make. And yeah, that's right, with pre-selling, and you've got that whole FOMO factor of, wow, if this is on sale now, I don't want to miss out on this. So yes, thank you, Amira. So yeah, actually, can you give us a real world example of how this has worked in real life? Any, from any winery partners where, collaborative sales have transformed the way that people engaged or purchased wine?
Yes. I will title this example because it's one example, but it's like a trend. And I call it the return of the Tupperware party. And I'll explain why. I mean, I hope everybody knows what Tupperware party is. Do we need to explain, Jerry, or?
I hope not. Okay, drop in chat if you're so young that you don't know what a Tupperware party is, so I can feel like I'm a million years old. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Basically,
it's okay if you make me feel
Tupperware,
like I'm a million years old. It's okay.
basically, Tupperware plastic products were promoted and sold by usually not older, but women, ladies who went over to other people's houses and gathered 15, 20 people and basically demoed and, sold. So we're seeing more and more wineries understanding what we mentioned earlier, the drop in club registrations or club adoptions, and also understanding that they can't only base their efforts of sales and marketing on the tasting room, and they're starting to want to come closer to wineries. What does that to customers? Excuse me. What does that mean? Doing winery dinners, winemaker dinners, and run these kinds of off-site tastings. They're looking for this new buyer acquisition path. We've had a winery from Napa come up to us about 3 months ago and tell us, listen, between twice to 4 times a month, this is not a small winery, but let's say small plus size. Between twice to 4 times a month, we go out to club members' houses, which we give them a perk. We tell them we would come to your houses and pour 3 or 4 wines. But we would love for you to have at least 15, 20 people over. The winery doesn't sell the event. It's free. It's complimentary for the club member. But pre-wining, those events were used to basically brand awareness, and maybe, if they're lucky, get people to leave their details with the person of the winery to register to their club. I mean, you really needed to see it to believe how primitive the process is. I mean, there are little papers that people are expected to write at the end of the event that they want to register to the club. And the approach from that winery was, we've looked at our last 6 months of doing this, remember, between twice to 4 times a month. And results have been, excuse my French, crap. We want to see if we could leverage those gatherings to sell, to get a return on investment. And we heard about you guys. How about we try a collaborative sale? Said, let's do it. That's exactly what we're here for. And what they did was they literally took us on like a rock band. They took us for 3 consecutive nights. They set up collaborative sale with Wining for 3 separate, of course, 1 hour sales that they were basically presenting to the audience after the winemaker or the marketing person had poured and talked about the wine. They said, here's a QR code, guys. The 3 SKUs that we just presented to you, the 3 wines. If you join in for 2, sometimes even 3 cases, all of you guys together, 15 to 20 people, that was the average. You get them for 10, sometimes even 15%. And it was a phenomenal success. I mean, on average, during these 3 nights, they sold just over $4,000 worth of wine and somewhere between 70 to 75 bottles. And you know, multiply that by 3 for those 3 nights. So that is a classic use case for wining. Giving the people on the road, the people doing your off-premise tastings, it could be at festivals, it could be at small events, it could be at wine members, it could be at little small parties. Remember the Tupperware concept. Give them this ready-to-use portable POS system that is collaborative. Leverage the fact that you already have the audience. Don't just connect to the audience, which is what you're doing by being there. Connect the people within the audience amongst themselves. This will bring to you not only sales, but also such a positive brand awareness, because these people will remember that they had such a great time, they got great prices, they met great people, and we played this such cool game of buying wine together. That's a classic example, and it's being constantly repeated as we speak.
Yeah, and Devon mentioned that Pampered Chef parties are a similar example too.
Yes.
That's the new generation's version of the Tupperware party. So
Exactly.
actually, I have another question. So does a winery get the contact info for of these event participants?
Yes, we are merely the software. Think of us as the tool that communicates between you and, again, audience which you created. We are not a marketing platform. We do not bring the audience. And all of the data that we collect is absolutely the wineries. We remember our strategic positioning. We are a B2B2C tool. We have absolutely no interest in the data of these customers at that Tupperware party. They're all yours. They're all yours.
Got it.
And then it's strange because people who, let's say, participated or pledged for a bottle, and let's say it didn't reach its goal and the sale didn't happen, you still get their details. Because in order to complete a pledge, you need to submit your personal data and email. And by the way, I mean, I regret getting to this at the end, but the data collection, it's such a big challenge in wine. Here's also how you solve it.
I like that. So, one concern we hear from wineries is, like, wow, that sounds great, but it sounds complicated. Like, what do you tell wineries about implementing this kind of a model without having to go and dig in and redo everything and overhaul their entire processes?
So, I mean, first of all, this is a new thing, but innovation doesn't bite. Okay, you just need to try it. In with regards to your question, setting up a sale on Wining is as easy as taking, I don't know, 3 photos of the wines and then sending a written message about them, because you need to upload a picture and some data on the wines, and then the settings of the costs, what are the quantities, etc. Merely a 10 to 15-minute process, if I'm really exaggerating. We also have a customer success person who helps the wineries do it.
Oh,
I mean, you
nice.
have to go through it. It's very easy, very short. And what you get after completing this onboarding process is links and QR codes, which you can use wherever you want. And you have your ready-to-use e-commerce platform, and it's solely yours. I mean, just so I'm clear, when people scan the QR code or click the links, it's not like they will see other collaborative sales going on. People, when they refer to us, they think of us as the Airbnb of wine selling, because it's like, you don't buy the place. It's like merely an on-demand e-commerce platform, ready to use whenever you use it, for how long you want to use it.
Got it. Okay, so we've got Amira has another question. Thank you, Amira. For those
I like
festivals
Amira.
where you aren't allowed to sell in person, I encourage the customers to order online via Vino Shipper. Any plans to integrate your tool there?
Yes. I mean, we're a startup, all right? Just so we're clear. So right now, our platform is kind of a standalone tool. But I mean, please don't quote me, but by the end of December, we should be integrated with Commerce 7, possibly Shopify. And Vino Shipper is third on the list, but first of all, I know that company very well, and we also know that their API is very easy to integrate with. So as soon as we get the first one, which is Commerce 7, so let's say early in January, we will have that integration, but it doesn't mean you can try it before without the integration. You just need to upload your shipping rules to the platform, ours, and it will display it to the people participating. I can explain further offline for anyone who is interested.
We're going to start wrapping up here, but so before I get to our last question, for you, Moshe, I want to ask if anybody else has a question that they want to drop into chat before we wrap up here. And in the meanwhile, Moshe, why don't you tell us how to get a hold of you? If anybody has any questions they want to ask you about Wining, how can they get a hold of you?
Well, obviously, they can also reach out to you guys at Diversity Wines, but otherwise, Moshe, Moshe @wining.net. You can look me up on LinkedIn very easily.
Okay. Moshe, Moshe @wining, WINEING.net. I'm putting it in chat right now. In case anybody has any questions, please feel free to reach out to Moshe. Okay, in wrapping up then, if we look 5 years ahead, what do you imagine the most successful winery-consumer relationship will look like? And what role will collaboration play in that future?
It's a very good question. I think that the main evolution will be that it'll happen slowly, but the main evolution will be that wineries gradually will get a grasp of all of these new tools to sell wines. I think gradually all wineries will move to somewhere between 95 to 100% D2C. And I think the role of wholesalers and other retailers will gradually drop.
Interesting. Before we wrap up, Devon has another question. Speaking of festivals, can you touch on any insights that you might have, if any, about wine festivals in general as a tool in expanding consumer base?
Yes. As I said before, festivals have many faces. There are festivals where people pay a high price to enter, and then basically, let's be honest, they come to either get drunk or drink a lot, and they're not in a buying mindset. I would recommend for the smaller wineries that don't have the unlimited marketing budget not to go to those, but go to the ones that the entry fee for the people participating, not the wineries, is low, to go to these because then, if you pay $150 to enter a festival and you're going with your partner, after the $300, you won't have, enough state of mind to also plan on buying wine. So I think that it's very important to examine the profile of the festival. How many people? Is it tens, hundreds, or thousands? I wouldn't go to the thousands, absolutely not. And what is the cost for the end user to participate? Make sure it's about you. It's about getting the wineries to sell wine and not just getting the wineries to pour wine. Absolutely two different things.
That's a really good point. Let's see. Does anybody have any last minute questions before we go ahead and wrap up? Thank you, Amira. Great points again, she says. So we've got Moshe, Moshe at Wineing, WINEING.net. If anybody has any questions, because very interesting platform, because as you said, there are no upfront costs. You can go ahead and get on the platform. Can you explain really quickly, just a brief sentence or two about how that works so that people know?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you contacted me, anyone contacts me, I can get them set up very easily. But if you go to the website, there's a very easy to reach contact us kind of area that makes us see that there was an approach. We reply with either a demo or a call to briefly explain. Also evaluate the context of the usage. So if we perceive, like your last question, that the use case isn't really a fit, we would say it. I mean, we won't waste anyone's time. And then set up literally after the 10 or 15 minutes by the winery side, takes us a couple of hours to set up the campaign, the sale, and you're ready to go.
Sounds like a great deal. All right, everybody, we're hitting the 45-minute mark, so we're going to go ahead and wrap up. We so appreciate you attending this webinar. Again, you have Moshe's information, and then if anybody else has a question or an idea for what you'd like to learn on our next webinar, info@diversitywines.com. We look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you, and thank you again, Moshe, for joining us and sharing your knowledge with us.
My pleasure. This was fun.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.